Hey guys, welcome back to another Weird Wednesday. I'm Ashers, and this is,
Pedo.
and also,
Me, Aaron, a
it's
boy from the internet.
a, a boy from the internet. Aaron, welcome back. Now you're a two-timer on the show.
Thank you.
You're almost up there with Tobias Whalen. Not yet, but you're
Yeah,
getting
badge
there.
of honor, man. I'm putting that on my resume.
They're
This is
satin
awesome.
jackets. When you hit 5 times, you get a satin jacket. It's Five Timers Club.
Ooh, I want that jacket. I
Keep
need
being
it.
relevant, and it'll be yours.
Exactly. Come out with new stuff. Oh my goodness. Was super glad to have you. I'm excited about
Thank
the
you.
topic. I know what it is.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure to talk with you. So thank you.
It was great, and you're like two-timing. Well, two-timing is not the right word. You doubled up. You just came. You're coming off the high of your own high. The strange conversation on
Yeah.
Instagram. So it's good energy. Well,
Yeah,
it
I'm
always
feeling
is.
good. It's I did the interviewing. Now I get to be interviewed, which is much easier. So I'm very excited.
That's the easy part. Pato, how was your weekend?
My weekend was pretty cool. I went to the Mothman Festival in Point Pleasant, West
Ooh.
Virginia, with you. We ran into each other. Um, yeah, man, it was not what I was expecting at all. It was the like I was explaining to my wife, and she thought that I was bullshitting her. It was like Lollapalooza. It was probably at least 100,000 people,
That's
and
what I heard. I heard there were like
it's in a
100,000 people.
dude. It was insane, and it was a totally very, very, very small town. It was comparable to Lollapalooza if you look at like this, like logistically, like the size of the facility versus the amount of people. Like it
Yeah.
was probably about a third of it, but it was that packed. Um, Man, I lasted 4 hours on Saturday, and that was it. It was
Yeah.
that I caught my limit, and we did the Mothman Museum. Went with my son. We did the Mothman Museum. We wandered around. We saw a bunch of guests from the show. It was kind of like a best of mixtape. Um, saw the Mystic Novelty Company people. Saw Lyle Blackburn. I don't think he knew who I was. Saw Dylan Jacobson, who is we never actually had on the show, but he's a guy that I've been we talk online about stuff. Heather Mosier, who's even smaller and more beautiful in person. Their tent was right up against the line for the Mothman Museum. So like while you're waiting in line, which I did because my kid wanted to go in there, so we waited in that hour-long line to get in the Mothman Museum for like fucking 15 minutes. Then back out onto the street to spend more money. If you look at pictures from the Mothman Festival and you see all the vendors smiling, that is because they just got bumped up into the next tax bracket. They made so much fucking money at that thing. I gotta say, this year was probably like Woodstock 94, where Point Pleasant like kind of fumbled how much money they could have made. Unfortunately, that means like next year is going to be like Woodstock 99, and Fred Durst is going to show up and that place is going to go up in flames.
People are going to
I
break
just
stuff.
I just watched that documentary on Netflix about
Yes.
Woodstock.
Yeah, I mean, no,
Yeah.
next year will be $4 bottles of water, $50 parking spaces. Seriously, like vendors, like just the vendor, whatever these people paid for tents this year is going to be fucking triple, if not more, next
Oh,
year
yeah.
because there was
Wow.
so much people there. Like you could have sold anything. Ashers, I'll let you give your hot take on it, but it was not what I've done 2 of these conventions so far, and I knew this was an outdoor thing. I knew it was gonna be a little bit bigger. I was not prepared for this at all.
No, I don't think you were. I was not prepared for this. It was record-breaking numbers. It was absolutely insane. So we showed up and we didn't get there. Ann and I, we didn't get there till like noon. It's like close to noon by the time we got in, which was fine, no big deal. We didn't stay Friday night, so we drove in from Dayton Saturday morning, and I got in about noon, which we figured, okay, whatever. And it was fucking crazy. I mean, it was really absolutely insane. And I mean, we show up, and we had a home base with Erie Eric and Creepy Carrie. Like that was where that was where we were gonna hang out all day. You know, if we
Good
needed to go
people
back
to link up with. Yes.
just somewhere to hang out, right? I mean, that's a good thing about when you're not vending a festival and you're friends with all these people is that you can just go fucking hang out at their tents. Like you can get away from the hot and the people and the things and just go back behind their tent and hang out. It's nice.
Yeah.
But, so we hung out there, but we show up there and Eric and Carrie were telling us, well, they told us yesterday that we could set up last night just so that way we're ready to go on Saturday. And they said that they did that and they almost sold out of shit Friday night.
Yeah,
because so many people were there. And Friday is not the festival day. Now they did have like
I
a
was gonna
kickoff
say
event.
it's Saturday and Sunday, right?
It was Saturday and Sunday, yeah, but they did
Wow.
do like a kickoff event. But the Friday attendance was more like a regular Mothman festival. And the Saturday attendance was like wall to wall people. You could not walk at certain points in time, like during the day. Like you could not get through the sea of people. It was
That's
insane.
wonderful.
It was great for everybody just because they hadn't had it since 2019. So the comeback was really, I mean, it was a big comeback. I don't think it's going to be like that at all in years going forward. I just think that, again, the advertising for it was so big. People were excited to finally go because they couldn't. But I don't think it's going to be as crazy the following year. So we'll
Well,
see.
you don't know. I mean, was that the peak or was that the because there was no because it was like a 2 year dead spot and then there was that. Now, where do they go from here?
Is this the
Is
new
point
standard? Yeah.
Yeah, is Point Pleasant going to choke it because they're going to realize, oh my god, we could have charged so much more? Like we like park. Just think about parking. We got real lucky. I made one lap through the town, couldn't find parking anywhere, and I got there at like 10:05, and the thing starts at 10. Like we were
Wow.
there, and and there was a line like you couldn't even drive into town. Traffic stopped when you were on that bridge, getting into town, which was fucking scary. And so yeah, you're like you have like it's like stop and go traffic from like half the bridge coming in. And then like
Wow.
when we were leaving, traffic was backed up all the way across the bridge. There was people parked on the side of the expressway and just walking there like they were going to
Oh yeah.
fucking Woodstock. Like, and
Wow.
that's the thing is that if it gets bigger than that, I don't know. I don't know how the infrastructure is going to handle it. I think they were very lucky that like I saw one cop the whole fucking time.
Almost happened
I
the whole
saw one
town.
fucking cop.
That poor
Everybody.
man.
I saw more people. I legitimately saw more people dressed up like Garfield of all things than I saw fucking police officers at this thing. So like, but I don't think there was any issues. I mean, I think it was
No.
pretty like cool. Um, but you just got to wonder where does it go from here? Do they real like? So when I got in there, they had I paid $20 to park, and this aluminum siding business, like some little business that had like 4 parking spots in front of their store, was just waving people over $20 to park, $20 to park, and me and like 3 other people just right there, and we got it. I don't know what. And this was after I drove all the way through the town once already trying to find parking, and there was none.
Wow.
So you had every business selling its lot for like parking spaces. If you didn't do that, because I know Astros, you and Ann did the same thing. I don't know what the fuck you were going to do because there was no free parking. But luckily, it did seem like people were kind of coming and going. Like that was the other thing too, is that it's not like people were hanging out there for the most part all day. Like I think people would kind of come for an hour or two and leave, and then more people would come in. So maybe that's how the parking situation was a little bit
Wow.
alleviated. But
I mean, we pretty much parked right where the statue was. I mean, you couldn't because it was blocked off, but like right there, there's a bank and it was $20 parking, and yeah, we fucking paid it because it was right there where we were hanging out. So,
That's
right.
really encouraging, though, especially after the 2 year, hiatus, quote unquote.
yes,
Like, it's nice. I think it's really nice that many people turned out. That's encouraging.
it's very much alive and well. But as far as the details of the festival, I mean, eventually it did calm down. Sunday was way easier. Sunday was like the day to just kind of chill, just kind of enjoy. But it was kind of a lot like, Aaron, you were at CryptidCon. It was kind of like CryptidCon. That first day was just very overwhelming and fast, and it started and it was over, and that was that.
Yeah. And the second day, you're just like,
I'm
where am
tired.
I?
Yeah.
How did I? Okay. Yeah. Yesterday. Okay. All right. I
I've
know
been
where I am.
drinking since I got here. I don't know what's going on anymore. Yeah.
I've driven 24 hours and I've had way too much alcohol, but I'm here.
So it was that's how Sunday was, but it was still fun. I mean, it was better because Sunday you kind of had more time. But as far as the event itself, I only got to listen to one person speak, just because you couldn't get into the speaker. They were gonna, usually every year they have the speakers at the State Theater, but someone has bought the State Theater, and I don't know why they didn't have the speakers there, but they did not. which is
Bad
kind of,
businessman or
it's,
businesswoman.
well, I don't know. They could be doing renovations on it. Maybe they found something it's unsafe. I don't know. Because
Mm.
I know if you go in a state theater, if you open that door, the first thing you notice is that the heavy stench of mold hits you right in the face.
Ah.
So who knows? And then there's no air conditioning in there. So, and it was fucking hot. And it always is because it's in September. So they have the speakers, and then they were going to have them at. They have this river museum that's not open yet. It has been closed for a very long time, but they're also renovating it. And they were going to have the speakers there, but then that didn't happen also. So they had them in the spare building right beside the museum. But it wasn't very big, and it was very much thrown together, which is fine. They did what they could, but you couldn't get into. I mean, you had to stand in the line to wait to listen to these people talk, and I was just like, I mean, really, if I have any questions or want to hear so and so talk about such and such, I'll just ask them.
I'll just shoot him an email. Yeah.
Right. I mean, I got their phone number. I'll give them a call.
Maybe a text message. Yeah.
Right. It wasn't a big deal. So I wanted to hear Lyle speak. Well, I couldn't because it was packed. I did get to hear Ken speak. Which was good and interesting or whatever. But like as I'm sitting there, I had my adult beverage and I'm like sipping on it, and then I'm sitting there and I'm getting drunker and drunker and I'm like, I can't just sit here in a room with all these people. So I opted to then not listen to anybody else talk for the rest of the day, which is good. But yeah, I mean, I got to meet people that I hadn't met before, which is rare nowadays, right? I've almost met all of you, but there were some people on the list. Of course, Lyle and Ken and Nick Redfern. They're all from Texas, and they all drove together. They all drove up together.
Are you serious? They rode up there together?
Yeah, they did.
That's so cool. You guys know what a big Nick Redfern fanboy I am. That's so cool. Sorry, please continue.
Well, he's so like Lyle and Ken. I kind of have a rapport with, right, from just being friends on the internet. We had Lyle on the show. I've asked Ken many questions about just being a cryptozoologist and what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
But Nick Redfern I've never spoken to ever. So this was a first. So it was it was the weirdest. It was weird. Talking to him was weird. My excuse, I'd heard Jeff Craig had come on the show and he had said that he was like introducing himself to somebody and he just went up to them and was like, "Hey, I'm Jeff Craig, Map in Black. Just wanted to meet you." And I was like, "Oh, that's a great excuse to talk to somebody. I just wanted to meat you." As silly as it sounds. I never know what to say to people when I meet them and have never talked to them before and they don't know who I am. So Fred Lane, who's the MUFON director of Pennsylvania, Fred loves my ass. All right, me and Fred we're cool. Fred Lane had sent me a message before Mothman Festival and said, "Hey, when you see Nick Redfern, go give him a hug from me and Kathy, his wife." And I was like, "Yeah, sure." Yeah, and I was like, "Good. Now I have an excuse, right, to talk to Nick." so I go up to him and and it was kind of weird just how the whole day went. I didn't actually get to say hi to everybody until like 6:00 that night.
Wow.
Just because it was fucking slammed. Some of these people like Lyle, I didn't want to go meet Lyle while he's backed up with all these people. He was going to do his thing. That's fine. I'll hit you when you're done. Ken, same deal. So I kind of met them all in like chunks. But Nick, his table was empty. I go up to him and, I tell him, "Hey, my name's Ashley Hilt. Fred Lane said this and this and this, told me to hug, give you a hug." I said, "But I didn't want to come up and just hug you because we don't know each other." And he fucking had no idea what I was talking about. And I mean, this man was so goddamn confused by what I was saying. It just was not, I swear to God, it was like I was speaking another language to him. He just, because I don't even think it was like he didn't know who Fred Lane was or whatever. Because I even explained that. I was like, "Fred Lane, the MUFON director from Pennsylvania, the state director." I was like going into he had no fucking idea. And I was like, "Okay, all right. Well, that was very awkward." I'm like, "Okay, well, let me buy a book from you." I'm looking at his table. I'm like, well, he had all of these books. And Nick Redfern's written a fuck ton of books, right?
I have more Nick Redfern books than any other author. And you've seen my book collection. Yeah.
Because he's like he's not number one. The number one fucking author in this community is George Dudding. That man has written about every fucking thing. And then I think Nick Redfern is number two as far as amount of books written. So,
Which book did you pick up?
Well, okay, so hold on. So this is where it gets weird because I wanted one of his Men in Black books, right? Because he's like the only person that does Men in Black nowadays.
Yeah.
And I didn't see him. Like I just kind of immediately scanned. I'm already like nervous. My anxiety's starting to kick in. I'm drunk, and I kind of scanned the table. I didn't really see anything that looked like it had said Men in Black. And I was like, well, "What book do you recommend?" Because I'm spoiled. I want authors to sign the book for me. Like that's how I buy books now. I won't buy it unless it's signed. And he starts pointing to this Roswell book, and he's like, "Well, that one's about Roswell." And I'm like, "Okay, do you have anything about the Men in Black?" Then he points to another book. He was like, "Well, that one's about Roswell." And then it dawned on me, Nick Redfern has a table full of books. None of them are his. He was selling like used books from other authors.
Interesting.
I was like, okay, which that's fine. Like, I get it. You know, you read that one already. You're done with it. Okay, do what you do. But he had no books that were his. And I don't know if maybe he ran out. I don't know.
See, as a book collector, that actually sounds amazing to me. Like, I would love to buy some random volume and have Nick sign it, even though he didn't write it. I don't care.
Nick Redfern signed this one, but it's, Operation Trojan. It's just whatever. Anyway, it was weird. And then somebody else came up and was like trying to buy a book from him, and I was like, okay, and I just walked away. Because like,
did you tell him that I love him?
So I did not, because there's a part 2 to the Nick Redfern story. But again, okay, so the book thing was weird, but maybe he sold out. By that time, I talked to Lyle. Lyle came and hunted me down, and he had sold out all his hot sauce, and he didn't have anything left either. Actually, he had Small Town Monsters DVDs on his table, and he said, I had to go and buy these from Seth just so I had something to put on my table.
What?
I don't have anything. It's all gone. And that was like 4:00 on Saturday. So
wow.
It was crazy. So later on, things are kind of winding down. Nick and Ken and Lyle are packing up a little early. And, they're leaving. And I'm like kind of walking around, and Nick like chases me down, like comes and chases me down and apologizes. He's like, "Hey, I'm sorry about earlier." And, it was just, he's like, "I didn't really know what you were saying." And I'm like, okay. I was like, well, what I was saying was, and I told him again, Fred Lane, the MUFON director in Pennsylvania, wanted me to give you a hug from him and his wife, Kathy. And I think, I'm not kidding, I think he still did not understand what I was saying. So he just hugged me. And then I tried to talk to him a little bit, and I'm like, okay, all right, let me talk to him about something he knows about. So I started kind of talking to him about the Men in Black. I'm like, I think that's great that you do Men in Black stuff. I'm trying to do Men in Black stuff because nobody does it anymore. And I really wanted to get one of your Men in Black books. And then he just didn't respond to that. I don't know what the hell he said, but he didn't respond to that. He just totally talked about, I don't know. Listen, it was a long day. Maybe the guy was tired and hot. Maybe he was drunk also, but it was just a weird
possibility. Yeah.
It was the weirdest exchange. And I went and I told people about it. And I was like, hey, have any of you talked to Nick Redfern? And, some people were like, no, I didn't. But the people that had, they're like, oh yeah, he's weird.
Man, I'm jealous AF though, because like
I love him for it.
I've been a Mr. Redfern fan for a long time. We actually became acquainted recently. Small Town Monsters put us in contact, and we've been emailing. Yeah.
Well,
we're pending an interview. Mm-hmm.
Just go with the flow of his choice of words. Is my listen. He was a real nice guy to come back up and approach me and apologize for the miscommunication earlier. Seems really nice. I gave him my card. Maybe we'll talk again, and it won't be so crazy. But yeah. So I mean, the festival itself was great. There was a fan of the show that came all the way up from Florida specifically just to see me, not just for the Mothman Festival. But just to see me, yeah.
Are you fucking serious?
Oh yeah, dead serious. Yep.
Wait, just you, not Pat? Sorry, Pat.
No, it was a Florida man. I already know how this one turns out.
It was a Florida man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, okay, so me and Ann show up, and within 10 minutes, here comes Pat, and then he leaves. So, I mean, Pat wasn't there. But yeah, he came all the way up.
Stick and move.
Stick and move. I feel bad. He offered to pay me to give him a tour at the TNT area. I didn't even make it out to the TNT area. It was crazy. But if you come back and it's not Mothman Festival weekend, maybe we can work something out.
Yeah, that's what I was telling Mothman 46. I would definitely go back in the off season.
You have to.
And would like to do that area more, but that was not the weekend to do it. Not at all.
No,
I've
no,
I've been to Point Pleasant at 2 a.m. when there was absolutely nobody there. So like the scene you're describing, I can't really imagine it. Like
filled with
I just
people.
can't.
And people posted pictures on social media, with the sea of people.
Yeah.
So
It was,
it's out
you know what
there.
though? I thought it was very cool because it was, you could tell it was just every, like when we were in the line for the Mothman Museum, the people behind us were from New York. Like it was every weirdo from the immediate area went there, and then it was every weirdo from like even further out. Like there was still magnetism that drew people in, and I think anything that does that is like builds is community building and brings people together like that in a positive way is awesome. You know, there was we saw I saw one couple. It was a couple. It was two like really butch looking dudes walking around holding hands, and I thought like we're in West Virginia. They probably can't do that too many places. You know what I mean? Not to be like to say like, oh, West Virginia, they're all homophobic and
No,
shit.
but
But
like
it's the fucking South. You know what I mean?
certain parts of the country have prominent attitudes.
Yeah, and it was like wow, like I it made me think of like how in England in the mid '70s how the punk scene really grew at gay bars because that was the only place where they could go and be weird punk rock people and not be judged, right?
Mhm.
And the alternative community and the gay community, and alternative music and all this stuff, it all just kind of they gravitate towards each other, even though it's not apples for apples. You know what I mean? Being an outsider is still being an outsider, and
Yeah.
we recognize our own. And I did get a big sense of that. Like you're talking about that many people at Point Pleasant Virginia, West Virginia for the Mothman Festival. They're not all like cryptid fans. You know what I mean? A lot of them were just like weird people that live in the country that had like no other. This is their chance to go be around other. Like it was a lot of goth kids. It was a lot of just like whatever, man. It was a lot of people cosplaying Garfield for some fucking reason. I still can't figure that out. And I think it's beautiful to see that many like-minded people get together. I'm not saying I don't want to equate it exactly with the Pride Parade, but it had that vibe to it, kind of. And
It's funny that you mentioned Garfield because I watched a couple live streams from people that were at the festival, and I saw no fewer than 2 Garfields in that very brief amount of time.
this is not hyperbole. This is not a bit that I'm doing. I don't know what it was about Garfield, but I tried asking my kid, and he was like, "Well, there's this internet thing where they take Garfield out of comics and they make it look really dark, like John's insane or something."
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's like that
And I like to
meme
think
thing.
I'm hip. Maybe I'm not.
We're old, you guys.
We're
Yeah.
old people. Well, I mean, I agree with that. It gives people a place. Mothman's kind of a meme now. The reason why Mothman got so big is because of Fallout 76. That's why.
Oh, and there is
Yeah.
nothing fucking hotter than seeing chicks walk around in fucking Vault-Tec jumpsuits. That was definitely like the high point of the weekend for me. Was these chicks in these homemade Vault-Tec jumpsuits, and yeah. There's certain cosplays that just like,
Did you fall in love a few times?
like when chicks dress up like Jubilee from the X-Men, like it's just like, oh,
Yeah, yeah.
The Vault-Tec thing really does it. I love the Fallout thing, like, and I know that it's a little part of it now,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
Yeah. So I mean, that was the majority, but I think the best cosplay I saw was a Krampus, someone's Krampus, but he actually fucking had a child in chains that he was walking around with.
Oh my god.
It was fucking amazing.
Are you allowed to do that? Is that
Hey man, if it's your kid, fuck it. Who's gonna tell you no?
like Homer Simpson? They're my kids. I own them.
Yeah, he had a child in chains. It was great. Who knows? I don't know what the deal was there, but it was fucking awesome. Plenty of people. There's a xenomorph. I mean, a full-on, straight up, a xenomorph was there at the Mothman. It was
How
cool.
fucking hot were they? Like
Dying.
Jesus, yeah.
Fucking, they probably left and went to the emergency room for heat stroke because it was fucking hot.
I want to call out one author that I discovered at the festival right next to. So I'd stopped by the Mystic Novelty Company tent to pick up. They were selling like cryptid eyeshadow, and I got a palette of it for my daughter.
Yeah, they just released that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I got my daughter's birthday's coming up, so I got her one, and I was putting the shit in my backpack, and I look over and I see this lady selling stuff behind like a card table. Like didn't have a booth, just had like a card table set up with some books on it. And I did like a triple take. I kept looking back at her, and I'm like, okay, something's telling me to go talk to this person. So I walk over, and I'm like, hi. And she had a stack of books, and I said, did you write these? And she said, yeah, it's about an encounter me and my husband had with the Mothman prior to the Point Pleasant flap. And I was like, huh. And I looked at her book, and it was called The Thing, Mothman, Devil, or Spirit. And I was like, I will take one. And she gave me a free piece of candy and a chick track. And I don't know if you guys know what chick tracks are.
I do.
Yes. Okay.
I was raised Southern Baptist, my friend. I know very well. I know very well what those are.
So as soon as I saw her have a stack of those, I'm like, oh, lady, I want to hear what you have to say. So I bought her book, and she was very nice. And I went home, and Patricia Gray and her haunting memoir, The Thing, Mothman, Devil, or Spirit. And I blew through the fucking thing like in the hotel room that night. Half of it I read that night, and the other half I read last night. But it basically, her husband was a preacher. They were from Point Pleasant, early '60s, years before the Silver Bridge and all that stuff. They had an experience one night with the Mothman in their house. Well, this creature that at the time they didn't know how really to describe it, but it fit the Mothman's description. And years later, they would go to be missionaries in Papua New Guinea and had lots of different paranormal experiences living with those tribes where there was different entities that would like wreak havoc on the tribe and that kind of fit the Mothman description. And then at the end, she ties it all into the Judeo-Christian concept of the devil and everything. And like, it's very chick track-esque. Like you get why you're getting both of them at the same time. But it was totally interesting to read, and I was like, well, at least there's, I'm here to take in new ideas, and so it was cool. I appreciate running her. Patricia Gray, look her up on. I'm sure she's selling that shit on Amazon. It was one of those like Amazon printed books. You know what I mean?
I was about to ask, can I order it? Because I'm suddenly like captivated by this.
I'm sure, because I looked at it's like you could tell the books that are just like someone uploaded a Word doc into Amazon and then it craps out a book. Like that's what this is. So that was it's definitely worth reading. It's only 160 pages. The other thing that I got suckered into is that MetaZoo shit. Are you guys familiar with that? It's Pokemon, Magic the Gathering with cryptids.
Yeah.
Dude, it was the best of times. So that's what I spent the rest of my Saturday and Sunday doing. Was playing MetaZoo in the hotel room with my fucking kid. And like I won't go on a whole big gaming rant about it, but it's like if you took the worst aspects of Pokemon and Magic the Gathering, as far as the rules go, the concept, like the IP is great. Like I love the fact that like you have Men in Black cards and UFO cards and all these different cryptids and mythological creatures and stuff. All that stuff is awesome. But just the way that it like the gameplay itself is like kind of wonky. But
I have opinions about MetaZoo, which I'll keep to myself.
Yes.
Why are we not allowed to talk shit about how everything's fucking trample and you have 1,000 hit points? Like Jesus Christ!
Well,
like Magic the Gathering, you have 20 hit points, right? Okay, 20 hit points. The game's over. You can play like a game. It's like a half hour, 45 minutes. Like you play a game in MetaZoo, it's like a fucking 3-hour ordeal.
I mean, I don't know anything about that. But...
See, you can play a game of Pokemon cards and you can pick your number of prizes, so it can be a long engagement or a shorter engagement. So, I see what you're saying there. If you're committed for 3 hours, that's tough. That's tough.
Well, and then because you have 1,000 hit points, you have to use. It's like it's so ingenious in the way they do it. You need like more cards. Like you can't have like a 40 card deck. If you're trying to do 1,000 hit points worth of damage, you're going to need to have like twice as many cards as you normally would in a Magic the Gathering deck. I never really played Pokemon that much. My kid did when he was younger. I played Magic the Gathering. Like I was like the first. I'm that old. I'm like when Magic came out, I was in high school. So I don't know. I was frustrated. We were constantly looking up rules. Because I'm like, that's not how you play it in Magic. Well, we're not playing Magic now. We're doing fucking
It doesn't matter. It's wrong.
You should have just played it with Magic rules. I don't know.
I tried to. My kid was like, nah. He watched a YouTube video while I was taking a dump, so he knew all the things. The flying mechanic is different. Like usually in Magic, when you do flying, you just soar over the other guys, and you can only get hit by another creature that has flying. That doesn't work. The hit points don't refresh after every round. So you have like 7 monsters on the field, and they all have like, this one has 15 damage, this one has 35 damage, this one has 20. You have to remember how much hit points everyone has. Like, you need like a secretary. Like, it takes 3 people to play that game, like with 2 players and then someone to take notes the whole time.
Well,
And
it's a big thing.
I can see why though. Like I said, I like the IP. I like the cards and stuff. It's like,
It's a
I
great
think
concept.
it's more
yeah.
about that. Yeah, it's more about the cards. It's more about collecting. I have a very super first edition MetaZoo pack that I won in a contest, and this pack of cards is worth like more than all of my assets combined. Is
I
what
was
I'm
going to
going
say
for.
those things are ridiculously overvalued on the secondhand market.
That's
Like,
what I hear. I can't find the exact pack that I have though. It's weird. So I've been trying to price it. I'm like, what do I do with this? Because it's like Beanie Babies, right? For a long time they were worth something, and then they weren't. And I'm like, if I don't fucking offload this while it's hot,
I'll find the website to it,
yes,
because I had to buy a couple Magic cards. I wanted a complete set of the Magic D&D crossover expansion that they did about a year ago, and I had to go to like a secondhand website to get like 3 cards that I was missing. And when I find the info, I'll give it to you, because I'm sure you could turn around and sell it on that.
I need to.
And
Yeah, I need to figure it. I'm not going to open it. Somebody was like, "Do not open this." It was
no,
Sarah Cooper.
don't.
Sarah Cooper gave it to me. Well, she didn't give it to me. I won it, and she's like, and so as soon as someone else on Instagram found out that I won this, they offered me $300 right in my inbox, and then I
Yeah,
told
dude.
her, and she laughed. She was like, "No."
Keep it. Yeah, keep it. I sold I received a few of the CryptidCon 2021 exclusive MetaZoo
Yeah,
cards,
yeah.
and I sold those on eBay. And I made a decent profit.
Well, right. They gave me
yeah,
some because I'm
For
good
something
friends.
I got for free.
I'm
I
good
made a
friends with
decent
D.
profit.
Elliott, who works with MetaZoo, which I love D. They're a great person. But we bonded at CryptidCon because we both grew up in the same hometown, which is fucking insane. Small fucking world, right? And so,
Wow.
and at that time, D was still living there, and like they just moved, right? So I saw D, and then D gave me some of these Mothman exclusive cards or whatever, and so I have those now. So
well,
you
I'll
know,
say this.
what is
I
it?
will become the biggest MetaZoo shill if they want to send me fucking free product. And to make up for the fact that when I went and bought their shit at Mothman Festival, I said, sell me 2 decks so me and my kid can play. And they sold me a rock deck and a lightning deck. And rock gets a plus 20 attack bonus to lightning. So how the fuck are you going to sell me 2 decks when one of them's got an elemental bonus on the other one?
I mean, that's
How
Pokemon
fucking-
rules right there. That's
No,
Final Fantasy rules.
I get it, but like, I picked lightning and now I'm fucked. Like, there's no way I could how am I going to win against that? That's like, you sold like 2 decks that like are like, one's like enormously overpowered against the other one. So I'll tell you what, just send me some free swag and we'll just forget it. I'll be your biggest shill. I'll make fucking stop motion commercials for you guys or whatever. And
I finally purchased something I've had my eye on for like the last 2 years. It was Saucers Over Appalachia by Mr. Robin.
Such a good book.
From Mr. Gobbledygook. Because, okay, listen, so it's kind of been a running joke forever. Every fucking time we go to an event, and they're always there, and I love them. Listen, I love them. You guys know, we had them on the show. They're great people.
They're marvelous.
Fucking love them. I also bought the Cryptid eyeshadow palette, which I will showcase in a couple days when I don't feel like shit, when I recover. But
nice. Wearing your Fireside Mechanical hat, I hope.
maybe.
Yeah, right.
It does have blue, so it matches. Anyway, so I went up to the booth, and so the last 2 years, every time I go up to the booth, he's not there. And I don't blame him. Listen, I get it. That's me at an event. I'm not at my booth. You better come talk to me. Well, you better come find me in the crowd, because that's where I'm at. I'm not at the booth. I get it. But yeah, every time he's not there, and again, I'm spoiled. I will only purchase books now that are signed, and so so I had to go up to Robin, and I was like, look, I'm gonna pay for this book, and whenever he comes back here, you make him sign it, and I'll just fucking come pick it up later.
I bought that book on Amazon after I met Robin in a clubhouse room about UFOs. And then when I went to Cryptid Bash last year, I took that book with me all the way from Texas to West Virginia to have him sign it. So I feel you.
He had to travel to get.
Yes,
No,
I
I
specifically packed it so he could sign it because I knew they would be there.
I thought about doing that too, because he has a Mad Gasser book that I bought while he was on the air, while we were interviewing him like a couple of weeks ago, and blew through that. That was really good too.
Yeah.
And I knew he was going to be there, and then Lyle, I picked up he had a Lizard Man book that I got, And I was like, oh, all these guys are going to be there. I should bring them and have them sign it all. And I completely forgot. I didn't do any of that.
Yeah, I'm gonna harass Lyle, and just tell him to send me a signed copy because I didn't I mean he didn't have anything when I finally, and he's all the way in Texas, and so I know that the next time I see him again is probably not going to be until Mothman of next year. So I'll just have to be like, hey, send me the book. But yeah, it was, and we got to have dinner with Robin and Mr. Robin because they walked in at the restaurant. We were the only people at the table. We're like, come sit with us, and that was nice because I feel like we're so busy all the time at events. I don't get to talk to them very much.
Yeah.
So
And
that
their
was
table's always packed. Like their merch is in very
always.
high demand.
Oh yeah. So which is good, good for them, but it was nice to finally kind of just talk and be, human. but but we were all very exhausted also just trying to eat. It was fun. But yeah, it was a good time. I mean it of course it was a great turnout. I will fucking never vend that event ever. I never will do it. Unless I'm hiring a team of people that fucking want to be miserable all day long, that's fine. I just won't.
See,
Yeah.
I've worked in fast food, and I feel like it would be fun. Not that
It
fast
would-
food is fun, but with monsters.
Well, imagine like it's like working at McDonald's during a rush, but you get to keep all the money.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, dude, like
it
I
is
wouldn't mind
good.
doing a booth at that if we came up with like a rock solid product, number one, and like where I thought like, okay, like I don't have to, like people were just buying this, like we're selling like dollar store sunglasses with a moth sticker on it. Or,
You
like,
could do that.
I know you could, dude. You could make so much fucking money at that thing, and like just go there and or like bottles of water and whatever, boom, 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 boom. Like I would do that all day. I would spend 8 hours on my feet doing that shit. Make
Sure, if you want to.
cash.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I mean,
I want to enjoy the event, though. That's my problem. Is that I want to be able to talk. You can't really talk to people in that setting. You can't. And Eric and Carrie were kind of saying that. Like, you got people that come up and they'll be like, "Oh man, this is great stuff. I wish I had more money." And then they'll stand there and fucking talk. Meanwhile, you got somebody
Yeah.
behind them that is like, "I want to buy stuff," and they can't talk to you to just buy it. It's
No.
so fast. You
You need
cannot
s-
talk to anybody.
you need an iPad with a card with a square reader on it. You need to make sure you got plenty of cash. You need to have like multiple cell phones charged. And
Yeah.
you got to have something. You got to have something that you're going to straight up sell. You don't have not where you got to sit there and like explain what this thing is to a person. You got to have like a T-shirt or a hat or something that people are going to come up and they're going to say, "Give me 2 of those" or whatever. You know what I mean?
Well, if you
And
were
that's
just selling, I suppose, yeah. But most of
yeah,
the people
that's the way
aren't
you got to
doing
do it. Like
that.
I felt bad like for Dylan, like because I bought a coloring book that he had, but you could tell like all the stuff that he had like grab and sell, I'm sure was gone. You know who I saw there? I saw Danner there. I didn't get a chance to talk to him, but like
Danner!
I'm sure
Love
his
him.
stickers. I'm sure he didn't go home with a single sticker. Like stuff
Definitely
like that.
not.
Stuff like that. Like boom, all gone. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah,
know?
the art. Oh, for sure. Any of the artists, yeah, they do really well. But even no, I mean everybody there sold everything. That's just the way it was. There was
Good.
one person that was selling hair accessories. That there was nobody. So there'd be like fucking crowds of people. And then at this one booth, there was absolutely nobody at the hair accessory booth. But if she was selling Mothman bows, then yeah, she would have been good. Or, cryptid theme, but she wasn't. It was just, plain old vending. But, I personally, no, I'm not interested in that. I'll speak there, but I don't want the table. They can give it to someone. They can sell it to someone else. I'll sell a table to someone else and make that profit and then go enjoy my fucking festival. So
It's actually a pretty good idea.
that's what I would do. And then
Table
just people
scalping.
I'll make a
can come-
lemonade stand. Shit. I get my Snoopy snow cone maker. Fucking put my kid through college.
Wow. But anyway, so Sunday was better. Sunday was a lot more chill. Just to kind of hang out and talk to people. Of course, I got to hang out with the wonderful Jamie and Jenny King. Fucking love them. They are like a grounding stone. Like they are. Like these people have so much light in them. It was perfect to be able to kind of go back to the Eric and Carrie booth and hang out with them because they're just so calm and good at what they do. The guys from Sasquatch Tracks, where I had never met them before, they were awesome. We just bonded over critical thinking, which was great. So it was a great event. It was definitely a good time. If you weren't there, wish you were there. Come next year. And if you missed your opportunity to meet and see me, that's okay. You have another chance because in less than 2 weeks, I will be at the Ravenswood Library in Ravenswood, West Virginia for Mysticon.
Ooh.
And I will be speaking at that one. And of course, I'll be talking about the Mothman. So if you didn't get enough Mothman, I got some more. And even if you did, I got some more. I got some more to
No
dish
one
out.
can ever have enough Mothman.
There's no such thing as enough Mothman. Oh,
No.
that was another thing I want to talk about real quick. The Mothman statue. A lot of people suck. You guys kind of
Did something happen to it?
Nothing happened to it.
Okay.
But you guys kind of fucking suck. Really, honestly. People, okay. This statue is not impenetrable. It is not, you can break it.
Yeah.
You'd see people kind of, climbing up in the arms. At some points in time, you can see it kind of teetering back and forth.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. Also the amount of beans that were left over the course of the Mothman weekend. I get it. It's like a Fallout 76 thing. I don't know. I've never played it. But people
I've played Fallout and I don't get it. I'm just going to say that. I don't, what? Sorry, please continue.
You don't get the beans? No, it's okay.
No, I don't get it. Leave him alone. Sorry.
I don't either. I don't understand the beans. But I guess it's something from that. And people come and leave beans. And that's like, you know what? That's fine. Mothman Festival weekend. Okay, I kind of get it. There was somebody there to collect it. People were leaving other shit. Bottles of Mountain Dew, money. There was people that was leaving money to the Mothman statue.
What?
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous. Again, Mothman Festival weekend, that's cool. Any other time of the year, don't do that because it's the townspeople that have to clean it up and it's straight up litter. Like, don't do take your beans, take your picture. I get that, but then take your beans with you. Take them home and eat them. Take them to the food bank. There's a food bank right there. It's like a drop off right there.
Yeah.
Take them over there. Whatever it is you're gonna do, just don't leave them there. Because that's not that Mothman does not like that. You did not.
No one is asking you to do that.
Right. Nobody exactly. So, but there was stacks of them. I mean, there's pictures of them that you could see. So Eric and Carrie's booth literally right next to the statue, and all day long you could see people got proposed to in front of the Mothman statue.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah, there were at least two. So it was funny because the two proposals were like back to back almost, and so they were Eric kind of posed the idea like, can you imagine being the second couple? And that guy.
I was going to say that second couple was, or the second person that proposed was probably like, damn it.
The girl's probably like, oh, that's so sweet. And he's like, yeah.
You wait in that line for 45 minutes and then the fucker 3 people in front of you proposes and you're like, yeah, man. Like we were going to wait in that line and then I'm like, come here, Colin, let me show you a trick. Like, we could take a picture right in front of it, or we could stand off to the left and take a picture right now and then move on.
The line was constant. Yeah, I mean, you could not, I mean, it was hours of waiting. But yeah, the proposal thing, I was, kind of sweet, but like kind of also someone, it's already been done. So it's one of those things. But yeah, be fucking nice to the Mothman statue. The guy that made it, he's dead now. He can't make a new one. Don't be assholes about it. Lots of people made out with the statue. That's fine, but like also kind of gross because nobody like
if you want to, but
yeah. But lots of butt touching, which that's okay.
That's necessary.
Yeah, I get it. Everybody goes to touch the butt. Good for you that you touch the butt, but don't climb all over it. Don't hang off of it. Don't litter on the statue. That's just not that's not very nice. So anyway,
respect art.
Exactly. It's a piece of art, and the mayor's already pissed. He doesn't want anything to do with this festival. He does not want it to happen. And if that statue comes down, that's just enough reason for him not to do this fucking festival anymore.
We'll see. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how they approach next year.
Oh, it always
after the economic influx of this year, I wonder if that perspective will.
No.
Right. And are they going to crush it? Are they going to have, are more businesses going to offer parking? Is it going to be, are they going to charge more per booth? Is it going to be the hours? Are they going to suddenly hire security? And then now we're going to have to deal with more cops. Because like I said, there's a shit ton of people and no cops, but everything was fine. But
well, yeah, I mean, right.
but maybe next year they'll be like, well, we did, we need to have more police here, or more, I don't know. I mean, it could go so many different ways. I think this year was lightning in a bottle, and I think for better or worse, whatever happens next year will be very different.
Hmm.
So the Mothman Festival itself makes millions and millions of dollars every year. Like that, it is the biggest cryptid event of the entire year in the whole fucking country.
Hands down.
Absolutely. And it always has been. Ever since it started, it's always been big. So I don't think the money has no bearing on whether or not the city wants to continue to do it. The city fucking hates it. They hate their monster. They don't like it. It's the only thing that they have. It's the only thing that gets them going. But you have to remember, this is a symbol to a tragic event, that a very real event that they all experience. They don't like it.
Yeah.
And you're
a lot
talking
of those people's
town.
families are still alive. Like they're still
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, George Dudding, again, the man that I said probably has written the most books in this community, he saw it. He was there. He saw the bridge collapse. He's got a book about it. And it's so that part is still alive. They don't like this thing. Don't give them a reason to push it away even more. Be respectful when you go. And again, go during the off season. And, if you really want to get the full Point Pleasant experience, go during the off season. Fucking nobody is there. And it is worth going to check out. And if you want to take a tour of the TNT area and you want someone to tour you, get a hold of me. So I will do paid tours. That is a thing. So anyway, that was Mothman Festival. I don't have any news this week because I am just fucking still recovering. So
that was a lot of news, I think.
That was a lot of news.
Just in that first 45 minutes. Wow, we've been here almost an hour already.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
awesome. I love this.
Yeah. It was a big one. So anyway, Aaron.
Astros.
How are you? You have been doing lots of very big things, huh? Do you want to kind of just reintroduce yourself, who you are, and just the general gist of what you do?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Well, my name's Aaron. I am a 34-year-old writer and podcaster based out of Austin, Texas. I'm expecting my first child, or my wife and I are expecting our first child here in about 6 weeks. So that's been occupying most of my attention and emotional energy. I'm so happy, so excited. But in the Fortean realm, I'm the executive editor at Paranormality Magazine, which it doesn't mean a whole lot, honestly. We were just trying to think of something official sounding to put on my business card. So, but I do recruiting and I do proofreading of submissions, and I do some PR for the magazine. So that's fun. I'm the co-host of Hey Strangeness, which is a podcast I produce with my wife, Sarah. I also host Strange Conversations, which is kind of like a sub podcast under Hey Strangeness on Instagram. And that's a lot of fun. I did one of those tonight before I came to hang out with you guys. And then I have my first book coming out early next year, and it is called The Texas Dogman Triangle. And it's being published by Small Town Monsters. So that's fun. That's what I've got going on.
That's fun. Can you imagine the you from what, 2020, when you really started getting into this, just being like, that really, that's your reaction? That's fun.
And you knew me then, Ash.
Yeah.
Like, you knew I was if anyone who had ever been featured in a blog noticed me, I would like freak out and do backflips and throw up because I was so excited to be a part of this community. So like, I can't really express how grateful and humbled I am to be in the position I'm in right now. I'm so excited, having so much fun.
Yeah, Aaron's definitely probably the, so George Dudding, again, the author with most books. Aaron is the most humble person in this entire community. I love it. I'm here for it.
Thank you.
Like, it's fantastic. So, let's talk about, we had you on for West Virginia Cryptids. Everybody fucking loved it. Everybody did. And I say this a lot. The guest shows, I'll be honest, they usually don't do as well. The West Virginia Cryptids episode is one of our most listened to episodes.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
Wow.
And that's a lot of people.
And that was like the second time I had guested on a show. So I feel like I was really nervous and like didn't know what I was doing. That's interesting. Wow.
Yeah, it did really well. I don't know if it was just the topic and, West Virginia, it's the home of the monsters and people love that shit, or if it was just you, but I'm going to say it was just you entirely. So
I'll take that. Thank you.
But now you're doing this Dogman stuff. What got you interested in this Texas Triangle Dogman situation?
Yeah, it was really kind of random. Sarah and I were looking for a topic for, I think, the third episode of Hey Strangeness. And we noticed, just kind of looking online and talking to people, that there seemed to be a cluster of Dogman or Dogman like sightings in central Texas. And originally, we only identified three. Two of which were listed on the National or the North American Dogman Research Project website. And then the third one was actually given to us straight from the witness, that had previously been unreported. And when you put these three sightings on a map, you get a triangle of about 700 square miles. And I thought, okay, well, that's interesting. Did a little bit of research. Wolves or wolf packs will occupy a space that is about 700 square miles. So my running theory is, oh, okay, there's some kind of a weird canine species in this area that pops up every once in a while. And these sightings were spaced 2 years apart, almost exactly, actually. It's kind of weird, 2 years apart. But then so we did the podcast, right? We did that episode. It was fun. It's still our most downloaded episode to date. But then I kept doing research on it just out of interest. And if you zoom out and you keep looking, there's way more than three sightings
Sure.
in this state. Like, there are dozens of encounters with dogmen or dogmen like entities, or what people describe as upright canids. And the majority of them seem to be clustered in kind of the central part of the state. And if you draw a triangle around it, they all fit right in there. And there are others. There's stuff from outside the quote unquote triangle, but the great majority seem to be concentrated in this area. So I just started taking notes on it. I was like, okay, well, there's a few over here, and then there's a few over here. Here's some from the early 1900s. Here's some that are more recent. Oh, here's some from the mid-century, where you have a lot of newspaper articles and eyewitnesses, And when you put it all together, it's honestly a little overwhelming. There's almost an embarrassment of riches. When it
Yeah.
comes to dogman sightings in Texas, such that I've already submitted the manuscript to the publisher. And I just yesterday, or 2 days ago rather, interviewed another witness that I had not talked to previously, and identified a whole nother area of potential sightings that I wasn't even aware of. So, like, there's more that I don't even know about yet. And that's kind of, I don't know, I've just been stuck on it ever since then. I was like, oh my God, there's so much. Like, why is there not a book about werewolves in Texas? And here we are.
Yeah, we Pato and I had a conversation one time about how a lot of these books that you get, a lot of these people that write books, which credit to them for sitting down and doing it, but most of it is just taking stories that have already been told and compiling them in their own way.
Yeah.
And you're taking stories that really have not had a lot of light shed on them and putting them all together in your own way. So I mean, you're kind of, I'm not going to say that you're necessarily groundbreaking, but you are breaking ground into an underrated topic, I think.
Thank you. Yeah, I wanted to present information that wasn't necessarily already out there. And a couple of my sources, excuse me, forgot how to talk for a second. The North American Dogman Research Project, True Horror Stories of Texas, Texas Cryptid Hunter, all websites I recommend everybody check out. Some of these stories were already out there, but they weren't really getting attention from the community at large.
Right.
And there still was not a place where they were all compiled. And what was really interesting is when you look at these independent sources like the NADP, like True Horror Stories of Texas, some of these stories are in the same geographical areas, but they're completely different sightings from completely different witnesses. And
Right.
I couldn't find a place where someone had compiled all of this information and then put it together. And then in the process of doing that research, I was put in contact with or encountered people who had never told their story to anybody before. So there's three witnesses, no fewer than three witnesses in the book, whose stories are not anywhere else. They just aren't. So I'm really, really excited and really humbled to have the opportunity to share that.
Now, and this all happened. So this is happening, and I'm presuming, because I guess I haven't really asked this before. This all happened, and then big news comes out of Texas with this Amarillo photo.
Yes, I was working on the manuscript when the quote unquote Amarillo Dogman, Amarillo, whatever, started gaining traction. And like you, Ash, I reached out to city authorities, zoo authorities, locals, trying to find somebody who I could interview to talk to me about this weird picture that was floating around. Crickets. Dead
Yeah.
silence. I still to this day, and I've been sending messages since it first got traction back in June. I want to say June. Yeah,
Sure.
June.
Yes. We'll say June.
Yeah, somewhere in there. Interesting on the date. Remind me to go back to that. There's something
Sure.
interesting about that date. But yeah, I still have not been able to find anybody. Anybody. My plan is to just go up to Amarillo one of these days and start talking to people. But it's 8 hours from where I live, so
Right. Yeah.
yeah,
Texas is big. Um, so
yeah.
I imagine, it's difficult to, just go to some of these places. But you are probably one of the closest people, especially somebody that's already researching. If anybody's going to do it, should be you at this point.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I mean, you're there, and that's the one thing you should investigate. If you're thinking about investigating anything, investigate things that is close to you. Uh,
Yeah, yeah.
so that's encouraging. So now I'm going to give you a warning. I'm going to tell you something right now. And I'm telling you this. I don't think anybody's told you this before, but take this and really let it sink in. You are now and will forever be the Texas Dogman guy. You know that,
Oh my
right?
god.
You know that you did that to yourself, right?
A couple people have said that to me,
Oh,
and
okay.
it's an honor. Like, it's an incredible honor, because like Dogman wasn't my favorite cryptid until very recently, and I'm still not sure if he
Right.
is. I don't know. I love the Mothman forever. You've heard me talk about that, but
Sure.
um, it's crazy, dude. I'm just again a boy from the internet, and now people are like contacting me, going, "Hey, I saw this. Do you think this might be a Dogman sighting?" Or, "Hey, I heard you're writing this book. Do you have any thoughts on this thing that I saw
Yeah.
last weekend?" And I'm just like, "Holy crap!" Like, people actually care what I think? Why? What?
Yes. And I'm going to tell you right now, and I am not so much ready to put this all the way out there, but one day you and I will get together. We'll talk about this because, like I said, your Dogman is my Mothman. Mothman's not my favorite. I didn't choose it. I didn't pick Mothman. I didn't. It just kind of picked me out of nowhere.
Right?
And I think that there's something to that. I don't know what exactly, but I think that there is something to that. That these things kind of become your thing.
Mhm.
Again, I don't know why. But speaking of kind of woo concepts, I mean, what did you start off thinking about the dog? What was your opinion on Dogman when you started?
My first thought upon reading some of these encounters, maybe not specifically the Texas encounters, because those kind of came later, but when I initially ran into Dogman as a subject of cryptozoological inquiry, my first thought was, this is complete bullshit.
Yeah,
Werewolves aren't real.
same.
Like, that's immediately where I went. And it was honestly like, that's where I was for a long time. And it wasn't until I started looking into the sightings in Texas and finding all these commonalities and recurring themes, not only in what the witnesses were seeing, but also in the way the witnesses were responding and what the witnesses were feeling and what they were experiencing. So many of these stories follow the same profile, to the degree that I was getting them mixed up. I was mixing up certain encounters because they were so similar, but it's just the same thing popping up again and again and again all across the state. So I just had this moment where I was like, okay, well, it can't be complete bullshit because this many people are seeing it. And even if this many people are imagining something, there's a reason for it. So I don't think they're imagining it. I think there's something out there. But I just couldn't help it. I was like, I can ignore this and walk the other way and try to find something else to be interested in. But this is happening right now. So let's go. Here we go.
And what is it that people are seeing?
a an upright, slender but muscular canine creature with pointed ears, yellow eyes, sharp teeth. And every time they see it, they feel afraid. And in every case I've looked at, with very rare exception, there are two cases specifically that are an exception to this, but every single other one, witnesses describe themselves as being overwhelmingly afraid. Um, like, it's almost a primal reaction to these things. Like, we're somehow genetically engineered to be afraid of them. And I'm not a scientist, I'm not a psychologist, I couldn't tell you why that is, but almost every single story I've looked at involves the witness saying, I felt extremely uncomfortable and I needed to get away. So it's interesting. It's just interesting how regular these patterns become with regard to this phenomena.
Are they typically all the same color?
Most of them are described as being brown, black, maybe grayish. The eyes are almost always described as yellow, but we do have a couple reports where they're described as possibly being blue, or in one case, even black. The witness actually said death black eyes, which was an
Wow.
interesting choice of words. Yeah. They very often appear on 2 feet, but it seems like more often they show up on 4 legs. The witness's impression is that this is a very large dog or wolf, and then the thing stands up on 2 legs. So I don't know, bro. I don't know.
Fair enough. That's good. When they stand up, are people reporting? Because one thing that's kind of been noticed with the Dogman phenomena over the years is that it's changed.
Yeah.
And initially these things were being reported, they weren't overly huge. I mean, they were big dogs, but they were like 4 feet tall when they stood up. They weren't, you got some people that are like, it was 15 feet,
Yeah.
which I'm not going to say whether or not it was or wasn't, but 15 feet's hard to hide.
You don't even hear Sasquatch reports at
Of being that
15
big.
feet, at least not in large quantities. Yeah.
Oh, I've heard upwards of 20 with Sasquatch.
Oh, shit.
And I'm like, so you're talking King Kong? You saw King Kong in the woods? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes.
Which I guess, hey, okay, whatever. But I'm not here to tell you that you're wrong. But we know eyewitness, accounts as far as things like height. It's not good. We know we've done studies on it. We know that people are consistently incorrect about the height of something.
That's why there's a ruler on the door of the 7-Eleven when you walk out.
Right.
Yes.
We're not.
Well, they
good.
say that like I've heard this before, and I was trying to find the source so I could cite it in the book. But like human beings, we I guess remember things that pose a threat as being bigger than they are. So we
Yes.
might remember the fangs of a creature as being larger than they really were, or we might imagine its height, being more extreme than it actually was. But we still got dogs on 2 legs. So,
Sure. Right.
yeah.
Exactly. But my question was, when they stood up, do people still report the popping? Because that's not really something that you hear about a lot nowadays, is that this popping happens. That is like saying that the joints what's being implied is that the joints inside the body shift to make it so that it is good on either 2 legs or 4. I heard a cat.
Yeah, sorry, he likes attention. Go away,
That's
buddy.
okay.
Go see mommy. Go see mommy. I have not gotten that.
Okay.
In as far as I can remember, any of the reports that I've enumerated. I'd have to go back and look over my notes, but no, I don't get a lot of that. As far as sounds go, like sounds that people are hearing, a lot of howling. A lot of really bestial cries that are also described as being very human-like. That's interesting. And then you get a lot of descriptions of heavy footfalls or stomping noises, or like a lot of disturbance happening in the underbrush or in the woods. But that'd probably be the majority of the audible phenomena that I've run across. Yeah.
Sure. I think it's interesting that aspect is kind of gone now. I don't know why that is. I don't know.
I don't know.
So where's your head at? I mean, and this might change, so I'm not going to say that. Aaron D said this on my podcast in September of 2022. So if it changes, he's lying, because new information, right? We're in that sense very scientific.
Sure.
We can change. Where's your head at now? What do you think these things are?
So my opinion is that the majority of Texas Dogman sightings are some kind of an unclassified animal. One theory I'm fond of is that they could be some form of canine hybrid, and we like to think that we know how many dogs there are. We don't. Dogs are incredibly diverse. Genetically, they can crossbreed almost infinitely, and we can come up with all these crazy, like a German Shepherd versus a Chihuahua, but they're both dogs. You know what I mean? So I'm of the opinion that at least some of these encounters are hybrid species that have not been properly classified. And we have precedent in the state of Texas for strange canine hybrids. We have the Texas Terror Dog, previously known as the Texas Chupacabra. We have the Galveston Wolves, which are some kind of a mix of Mexican red wolf and coyotes and dogs, which is also what the Texas Terror Dog is. So interesting little linkage there.
Kudos on doubling down on the Texas Terror Dog thing. That's goddamn right, man.
Thank you. I will die on this hill. I will die on this hill.
No, that's yours, man. You own that. It's all good.
There is no Texas Chupacabra. That guy ain't been here. It's the Terror Dog. But so we have precedent in this area for strange canine hybrids. And one of the people I interviewed for the books, Courtney Sweetheart of Small Town Monsters, and she's a veterinary technician. My wife Sarah is also a veterinary technician, and they will both tell you that some canine hybrids are infertile just due to their genetics.
Yes.
So I'm fond of the idea that at least some of these sightings are of hybrid species that may be infertile, and that's why we see so few of them. Because through random crossbreeding and random, genetic stuff being mixed in together, we get a creature that can stand on two legs, but maybe it can't reproduce. So when you hear the arguments against, like, well, there's no breeding population, well, we're not seeing a bunch of them. Well, yeah, because they don't pop up all that often, and maybe they can't reproduce. That's just one theory, but it's one that I'm becoming more fond of.
Something, just a fun fact. I'm going to throw it out there. Ligers. Okay, ligers, which is a mix between a tiger and a lion. We thought for a very, very long time were infertile because, again, most hybrid animals are. It was actually fucking, believe it or not. Oh my God, what's his last name? The Tiger King.
Oh yeah, what
Oh
is
my
that
God,
guy's name?
Joe something. Oh my gosh,
Joe Exotic.
Joe
Joe
Exotic.
Exotic.
Yes, it was Joe Exotic that successfully bred a liger with another, and found out that we could, and we didn't know that. But anyway, just
And
fun
he's in
fact.
prison because you could almost call him a cryptozoologist for that.
Almost. So almost. But yeah, so that was just but that is very true. Just because they can't breed together doesn't mean that there aren't animals breeding that are creating them. So, and especially when you're talking about dogs, dogs don't just have one puppy usually. They have multiples.
Yeah.
So when you have these sightings that are kind of happening all over together, I could definitely see that as being a viable theory. It's because there's been there's been a litter bred, and they just happen to be in that area at that time, and so people happen to see them. You started talking earlier. You were mentioning something about dates. What was that about?
Yeah. So the original Texas Dogman Triangle, we noted that these sightings were 2 years apart, 2016, 2018, and then 2020. And they were all, again, 700 square miles when you build this triangle, but they were all within like 50 to 60 miles of each other. Pretty close if you zoom out on the map. So it's interesting to me when these sightings recur, well, one in the same geographical area, but then in the same chronological period. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
it just gives the idea to me, it gives me the impression that, like, oh, there's something that just, it's hanging out in this area. It pops up every so often, and most people aren't paying that much attention. And the people that are paying attention that encounter it probably don't bother to report it. So we got
Mhm.
lucky with these 3 encounters that were reported, all within the same 6-year span.
Yeah. Well, and again, which checks out if we're talking about a whole litter of these things all in one point in time.
Right. I mean, that's another possibility. Like maybe there actually is a litter out here. Maybe this is a breeding population. Mm-hmm.
And then they just kind of come and go, and that's why we have them in chunks. There's another Dogman Triangle. I don't know if you know this or not.
I don't.
In the PNW, as a matter of fact.
Hmm.
But I don't remember too much about it. So typically, I only really investigate things that are close to home, and so I can get to them and I can talk to the witnesses and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody had brought it up to my attention. It's the one of the folks that runs the Liminal Earth website.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, they were interested because I started doing Dogman stuff, and they were like, "Oh, well, did you know there's a Dogman Triangle in the PNW?" And I was like, "No, I did not." And they kind of started telling me about it. Maybe you should talk to those people.
I think I should. Yeah, and we've interviewed them for Paranormality. Actually, or not
Yeah.
me personally, but one of our writers. So I may need to do that. I believe it was Nick. Pretty sure Nick interviewed them.
Yeah, definitely get a hold of them and see, if there's not something there, and just see if there's patterns. I mean, again, it's hard because it's far, but at the same time,
Yeah, but still worth talking to him. Yeah.
open up that scope. Not to put any other delays on this book that you're writing. I know how that goes, but
Well,
it's
I've got time. It's coming out spring of next year.
good.
Is what we're looking at. So yeah, I got time. I got time.
But so are you? But are you saying then that you think that the Texas Terror Dog is also related to these things? I mean, it makes sense that they were, but are you saying that there's a tie there that you think is there?
See, that's a question that I asked because if we're talking about canine hybrids and we have one that's already confirmed in the state, it's difficult not to make that comparison. I don't think these things are the same thing. Um, they may have similar origins, if they are both canine hybrids, but Texas Terror Dogs are described as smaller. They're described as quadrupedal. They're just not the same thing. They don't stand on two legs. They don't necessarily endow the witness with a sense of overbearing fear. They're just described as really weird dog, coyote things that people started calling chupacabra for some freaking reason that we don't need to go into today. Because that's not what they are at all. But so I think there may be some connections, but I don't think they're the same thing. I don't.
Yeah, maybe we'll bring you back for the Chupacabra episode so you can finally, work your way to get in your jacket.
I will. Again, I will die on that hill. So sure, just tell me when.
I can relate. Yeah, okay. Well, no, that's completely understandable. So this fear that people experience, I mean, what do you think is up with that? What's the deal with the fear,
Yeah. So I'm terrified of spiders. I hate them. I will not go near them.
Mhm.
You can't make me. I'm 34 years old. You're not going to make me go near a spider. I don't have to. I think as human animals, we're naturally inclined to be afraid of certain things.
We are.
Um, our ancestors were hounded. Play on words, hounded by natural predators. We have not always been the apex species. So I think we are naturally inclined to be afraid of things that posed a threat to our ancestors. If you've ever had a large dog get up in your face, like a Doberman or a German Shepherd, most likely you experienced a sense of fear. Your fight or flight kicked in. So if we're going to think about a canine creature that's 7, 8, 9 feet tall, according to some witness descriptions, has prominent teeth, glowing yellow eyes, long front limbs, and sharp claws, that's going to trigger an emotional and evolutionary response in us. We're going to feel the need to get out of this situation. Um, and most of the encounters I've looked at, that's what happens. The witness flees, or they shoot it, and when they shoot it, it doesn't seem to care. So,
Yeah. Yeah, which is, and well, I'm in a different camp. I mean, I 1,000% appreciate that you were coming at this through a flesh and blood terrestrial perspective.
mhm.
I don't personally believe that they are,
Okay.
which is, again, coming from somebody that very much like yourself felt like this was all just bullshit. When I first heard about it, right? I was like, that's
Mhm.
ridiculous. Werewolves, that's stupid, So, I get it, but since talking to witnesses and talking to people that have experienced these things and just kind of their life going forward, I feel like it's almost impossible for these things to be terrestrial. It just doesn't make any sense why canines would evolve to walk upright naturally.
Mhm. Yeah.
So I love that you're entertaining that it could.
Well, there is a lot of scientific, zoological, biological, whatever you like, conjecture that defies that. It doesn't make sense for a lot of reasons for a dog to walk on 2 feet. It just doesn't. Um, so when you look at it that way, it's almost like, okay, well, maybe not so much. And there are a lot of encounters, even in the Texas Dogman Triangle book, that kind of run more in the category of being supernatural or being
Hmm.
paranormal, if you like. You know, instances where people feel that they've changed shape, going back to the old
Yeah.
shapeshifter motif. But that seems to, at least in Texas, that seems to be the exception, not the rule. Um,
Okay.
so, hmm.
Well, and I talked about this weekend how I listened to Ken Gerhardt's talk at the Mothman Festival, and he had mentioned the Bigfoot and UFO connection, which I know you're
Mhm.
familiar with,
Sure,
and
yeah.
what he was saying was that, well, yes, there are stories of people that see Bigfoot, and then they see UFO, or something strange happens. That doesn't normally happen. That is
Right.
just not the typical standard. More often than not, it's just they're in the woods and they see this big creature, and that's the encounter.
Mhm.
So you're saying, just in your finding and in your pool right now, what you've got is mostly encounters that do just track along being an animal.
Yes. Yeah, not all of them. And
Sure.
I could be wrong. Again, I'm not a scientist. I'm not a psychologist. I'm a boy on the internet. But ba- based on my research, based on what I've read, there's a lot of commonalities with flesh and blood style Sasquatch encounters. But you have these key differences that, in my opinion, define them as being something separate. So yeah, yeah.
Sure. Sure. What about people that there's a lot of question of maybe what people are seeing is a misidentified Bigfoot?
I was
Um,
hoping you'd ask that. Yeah.
yeah, you've got the famous Beast of Seven Shoots video, the Gugwe, or not
Mhm.
video, but the picture, where it. is like a more like a baboon type Sasquatch holding some type of kill that it's got. And
Yeah.
you have people that say, well, yeah, I saw Bigfoot, but it had a big snout on it. What, because one of the people I talked to during this past weekend just said, I don't believe in Dogman, it's misidentified Bigfoot, just straight up did not, and they've been in the
Yeah.
field for years.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
I think there's some weight to that. I think there's some validity to that. A couple of the people I interviewed for the book postulated along those same lines. Michael Mays of Texas Cryptid Hunter, longtime researcher out in the field, works with the North American Wood Ape Conservancy. He's actively involved in their research. He's of the opinion, based on our interview, that these are misidentified Sasquatch. But even he'll allow for the idea that maybe there's something else going on that we don't understand here, because you get these key physical descriptions that seem to differ from your atypical Sasquatch encounter, specifically the pointed ears,
Exactly.
the canine-like face. Yeah, those are the things that really, really seem to stick out. Your Sasquatch descriptions are generally, they're more muscular, they're bulkier. The Dogman descriptions they're a little more slender. They're still muscular, they're still intimidating, but they're not as bulky. And I believe it was Lyle Blackburn. I interviewed a lot of people for this book. Lyle Blackburn said that, if you have Dogman on the brain, that's probably what you're going to see.
Sure.
Or if you, on the inverse, if you are more of a Sasquatch type of person, if you are really, really into the Sasquatch thing, you're probably going to think that, oh, well, it's just a misidentified Sasquatch. I believe it was Jacques Vallée that said you can't solve an unknown with another unknown.
Sure.
And all of this stuff is unknown. So that's kind of a self-defeating idea. But I really like that perspective. Like, well, we can't say unequivocally, yeah, this is a Sasquatch, not a quote unquote werewolf, because we don't know what Sasquatch is. We don't know yet. There's plenty of evidence, there's plenty of research, but it hasn't been formally classified. And many, many people in the field have varying opinions. So I think it's a little too easy to just say, yeah, these are misidentified Sasquatch sightings and just write it off from there. I don't think we can do that. I think we're not giving the phenomena its due if we just write it off and say, well, it's something else.
Sure. Well, how could you explain away the pointed ears on a Sasquatch? I mean, Sasquatch are making kills and then making pelts and making hats out of.
Yeah. And I mean, you could say, well, we don't know what Sasquatch is. We don't know how many species there are. We know we have species of known primate or apes that have pointed ears, or have canine-like faces like the baboon. But it doesn't, the baboons aren't 8 feet tall on 2 legs. Like,
They're not.
Yeah. So
Sure.
it just doesn't quite work for me.
Yeah. I'm not a scientist, but I can say that for certain.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. Do you have you deep dive into any, I guess the nicest way I'm going to say it, even though now, I guess rumor has it that Pato and I are racist against white people, but do you have any, yeah, we are. Yeah. But
honkies.
I know, freaking honkies. Yeah.
There's worse things to.
I don't like crackers on my show. I'll be honest with you.
Somebody was asking. I was talking to somebody about it during the Mothman Festival, and I told them, I was like, people are saying that we're racist against white people, and they were like, "Oh, well, fuck white people."
Right?
Yeah.
Fucking crackers.
But anyway, do you have any pre-white people stories of anything that could potentially be similar to what it is you're researching now? Because it seems like the stuff this Dogman triangle is pretty current and it's pretty recent.
Yeah, there are actually 2 stories in the book that really, or not really, but they kind of toe the line into like Native American folklore and stuff. One is the Bear King of Marble Falls, which is one of the stories that's talked about in the book. And this is an entity that's described as being like an ape, like a bear. It kidnapped somebody. It might also have been kind of canine. It was shot by a bunch of farmers. Really interesting story. And then you also have the Bear King of Marble Falls, or I'm sorry, I just said the Bear King of Marble Falls. They're so similar. You also have the Beast of Bear Creek, which is several miles southwest of the Bear King of Marble Falls. And that was allegedly a Native American shaman that could take on the form of some kind of a beast. I don't have any Native American contacts that I've been able to
Sure.
consult with. I've reached out to a few organizations and I haven't been successful. So I try not to comment too much on the Native stuff because I don't have the cultural background or the knowledge to really say, like, yeah, this is a part of Native American folklore. But it does come up. It does come
Okay.
up.
Okay. So I mean, it's well, and again, you've only been working on this book for how long now? I mean, a couple of months, right?
Uh, uh, phew, about 6 months I've been actively working on it.
Right.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
mean, you're still very. I mean, you've just put the tip in. I mean, you're not there
Mhm.
yet.
There's a lot more to learn. Yeah,
You
there's a
know,
lot.
yeah, there
So
is.
I have a quick question about your writing process because you do write a lot for Paranormality magazine. What made you hone in on this one topic? Was it because you already had it like branded and you figured, well, if I name something, I might as well like keep the branding going,
Kind
or
of.
like
Yeah.
because I
Kind
mean
of.
you I know you read a lot, and so it's like you're very well read. Like you
Thank you.
obviously, like, that's part of this that you gravitate towards is like you read books, and if that's the way you take information, it's the way we put out information. You write a lot for the magazine. Writing the book was kind of like an eventuality, and this was the one that you settled on. Was there another topic that you had like on your B list, or was there something else that you almost did that, like, like, I guess just describe like how you honed in on this one?
Yeah, yeah. So the publisher reached out to me and they were like, "Hey, would you like to write a book for us?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely. I've always wanted to do that." And they were like, "Great, send us a few topics, see what you got." And I pitched four ideas, I think, one of which was the Texas Terror Dog, actually, because there's not a book on that. Another was just strange phenomena in Texas, because this is a really weird place. Like, Dogman is not even scratching the surface. There's a lot going on in Texas and has been for a very, very long time. And then I have this idea, or I've noticed that there seems to be a recurrence of the color red in paranormal phenomena, and there are a few cases and entities I could cite kind of to that point. But I pitched them a variety of ideas, and they were like, "Yeah, let's go with this Texas Dogman thing. That sounds great." So, maybe those other books will manifest one of these days. But yeah.
Tease us with the red one. What's that about?
Yeah, so it's I'm still taking notes. It's not a super cohesive idea yet, but there are various cases spread across the paranormal gamut, if you like. Jack Parsons' Scarlet Woman, the Malmstrom UFO. The Betts Castle in Florida has a room with red carpet. The Amityville house had a room that was concealed in the basement with red walls. There's another one. Oh, Napoleon's Little Red Man, which is some kind of a spiritual entity that he took advice from. You just see this recurrence of the color red, and very often it's associated with power or control. The Malmstrom UFO was able to shut down nuclear missiles. Jack Parsons' Scarlet Woman was supposed to help him embody this greater sense of like power or something. So it
Yeah,
seems
that's
to, yeah.
oh, the Jack Parsons thing I want to talk about, because I read that book because you had recommended it on one of your. I think it was did you go on a road trip and like take pictures of your books next to shit?
Yes.
Yeah, and it
I
was
did do
that was one the Jack Parsons one, and I saw that and I was like, I know who that guy is, and I ordered that, and I finished reading it like maybe like a month ago, and that was because that was the woman that he wasn't. Isn't that like the wife that he lost to L. Ron Hubbard?
So that was actually a different woman who was the sister of one of his other girlfriends.
But
Um,
he was trying to
yeah.
manifest this red woman lover, like redheaded lover,
Mhm.
and that's who he thought she was.
Yeah, Marjorie Cameron, he believed was his Scarlet Woman. And
Yeah,
from what I recall, she wasn't necessarily on board with the idea that, yeah, I'm this personification of spiritual power or whatever. But he was convinced. Parsons was convinced that Marjorie Cameron was his Scarlet Woman. Yeah.
right. And the name was Sophia, which is supposed to be like the female personification of like El or Yahweh, or like the
Hmm.
original Hebrew guy. Yeah, I'm starting to read into that stuff now, and it's very, very interesting. I didn't even make the connection with the color red.
Yeah. It's
Yeah, the
weird.
color
It
red's
may
a
be
good one.
nothing. There's only so many colors out there. It may be nothing, but it's something to poke at least.
Sure. Sure.
That's true. I don't know. I found that connection also. Obviously the red eyes of the Mothman or other entities like it.
Mm-hmm.
The Flatwoods monster and its very red face. I mean, it is out there.
Your red
I
hair.
my red hair, and clearly
Mm.
I am something not of this world. So, um, there's something to it. I definitely agree with that. I want to say real quick. First time I ever met Aaron Dees, after being friends on social media for a while, physically met him. He shows up to Cryptid Bash, and not only is he very excited to see everybody, but he showed up with books to give to everybody.
Yes. I did do that.
And so, yeah, you're kind of like you're kind of the book guy. Also, you've read all the books.
It's a fun thing to be known for. I own way more books than I've read, but yeah, it's a fun
same.
thing.
I think we all do. I think all of us.
I'm amazed you can remember, like, you remembered that chick's name from the Jack Parsons book. Half the time I get Jack Parsons' name wrong. I called him, one episode I kept calling him Alan Parsons. And then I'm like, no, wait a minute. That's the frog rock guy.
Well, he did go by various names, Jack, John, yeah. So that's fair. That's fine.
Oh, so it's his fault. Is what you're
Very
saying.
gracious of you, Aaron. Thank you.
Yeah, it's Jack's fault.
That's hilarious. Well, I mean, it's true. Actually, you gave me a Nick Redfern book. So
I did. Yes, his Jack's given name was actually Marvel Whiteside Parsons. So there's a little
Whiteside.
Yeah,
Marvel Whiteside. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. Oh my gosh, I had a question and I forget what that question was. We're talking about other books that you're going to write. So are you, now, you're in the process. So obviously you haven't gotten there yet. It's not out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you plan to write more after you're done?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Being an author is a lifelong dream for me. The two things I wanted to be more than an author were a husband and a father. And I got to do, I did one of those a few years ago, and one I guess I kind of did this year. So
Sure.
yeah.
That's so awesome.
Thank you. So no, I have no intention of stopping. I hope to keep going, but it just kind of, we'll just see what happens next. You know what I mean? I find if I plan too far in advance, I'm usually wrong. So
that's okay. Have you had interest in other forays? I mean, clearly you've got the podcast, right? And that's there.
Mm-hmm.
So it starts there, and that's easy. Well, I'm not going to say it's easy, but it's less involved than writing a book.
It's accessible. Yeah.
It is, right. And so now you're taking it, now you're going, and then you go up a little bit further. Well, okay, let me get involved with this magazine. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now you're there. Well, let me just go ahead and write my own book. Do you think that you're going to progress in that way? I mean, are we going to get an Aaron Dees documentary? I mean, what are you going to lecture? Do you want to lecture at places?
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, I will go anywhere I'm invited.
Sure.
There is a film company that will be in Texas later this year, possibly producing a possible film on this possible topic. And I will possibly be appearing in that film. So I'm really excited about that. But yeah, man, I'm down for whatever. One day, obviously, I would like to do this stuff full time. I have a fairly successful career doing something that is entirely unrelated to the paranormal, but given the choice, I would do this stuff full time. Absolutely. So yeah, man, like I'm here for it. Anything I can do to be involved in this community, further the research, put the information out there, I'm here for it. Yeah.
I think it's great. I'm super excited to see everything that you do.
Thank
because
you.
You're clearly very knowledgeable. I think you're open-minded enough, but you have the critical thinking skill to not get wrapped up in some of the bullshit that's out there. So
Thank you. I try. Try to just stick with the monsters. Yeah.
you're doing a good job. That's I guess that's really what I was trying to say is that I think that you are going to do a lot of really great things, and I'm excited. I'm excited for you.
Thank you. I'm excited too. Thank you.
But mostly I'm excited because I want it to be content that I like and enjoy. And so there's that, because I don't know, some of the stuff you get bored with the same old people, and I love seeing the fresh faces and the new perspectives, and I think it's great, and I think it's great that you're able to bridge the gap between some of these things, and as somebody, and I just because I know you personally, I know some of your thoughts on some of this stuff. Again, I'm surprised. I am surprised that you're taking the Dogman angle and making it terrestrial. I think that speaks volumes to show that you are serious about the actual research and the information.
Thank you.
And that's important. We need
I
that.
think that's necessary. We get I love the woo woo stuff. I love the goo gaga, but you know, we have to approach this stuff scientifically. And I say that as a person without a scientific background. I just watch a
Sure.
lot of watched a lot of History and Discovery Channel when I was a kid. So, like, I'm not a scientist, but I feel like if we approach this stuff purely from a inexplicable, supernatural perspective, we're not going to get anywhere because we're going to miss out on stories and we're going to miss out on scientific input. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
Absolutely. Pato, did you have anything else that you want to ask?
No. And that's not an insolent no. That's just a no.
I'm gonna stop asking you at the end of the show.
You guys gave me a lot of space to talk this out, so thank you very much.
I'm glad. I hope we covered the gist of everything. I mean, we don't want to give everything away. We want people to buy your book, so that's
Yes, please do. I have a child coming. Please buy it.
and kids are expensive. We know.
They are.
Okay, well, where can people find all of your things that you do?
Yeah, I am most active on Instagram under hey_strangeness. That's where I post most of my stuff, whether it's book reviews or just the paranormal thing I saw that week. And I'm always involved with Paranormality Magazine, paranormalitymag.com. We have the Paranormal Podcast Awards, the second annual, coming up on October 30th, so you won't want to miss that. And then these are my two main things. Yeah, that's where I'm at. Paranormality Magazine and Instagram primarily. Mm-hmm.
Sure, sounds good. And I don't think you have anything scheduled as far as physical appearances go because of baby.
Yeah, no, all the energy I have left is going to preparing to be a dad, and I have no clue what I'm doing. So I don't know about any physical appearances. I'm hoping to run the convention circuit next year and be at Cryptid Bash and Cryptid Con and the Mothman Festival,
Sure.
but I don't know, man. Life is chaos, so we'll see.
That's what makes it beautiful. All right, well, I suppose with that being said, guys, check out Aaron Dees and all the fun things that he does because he does lots of fun and great things. And give him your money because he needs it because his child needs it.
Yes, please. Thank you guys so much for having me on. I always love speaking with you. So thank you.
Yeah, always.
Hey,
Thanks
no
for
problem.
coming on. Yeah, we love it. So, all right, guys. Well, with that being said, we'll see you back here next Wednesday.